Hello kids, a lovely day to you, my young mathematicians. Welcome to this class on ratio. We are going to be looking at concepts and other things in ratio. For example, Elia and Kate have sweets. Elia has 6, Kate has 3. We can write that as 6:3 in ratio. Or we can write it as 6/3. So two different forms of writing ratio. Therefore, we can conclude that we use ratio to make comparison between two things. Basically, ratio indicates how many things are contained in another. Now, let's look at more on introduction to ratio. Now, let's compare the number of strawberries and oranges we have in this example. For example, when we count the number of strawberries, we discover we have 6. Alright, then in a ratio we can write it as 6:3 because there are 6 strawberries and 3 oranges. Alright, so we write it 6:3. We call this method of writing statement. Alright, statement method of writing ratio. But we can also write ratio in other form. Alright, so if we want to use the symbol, which is colon, we can therefore write it as 6:3. So we put colon between the numbers. Another way, or a third way of writing ratio, is in a fraction form. So the first number goes to the top and the second to the bottom. So that's 6/3. 6/3. Alright, so these are 3 different forms of writing ratio. However, this ratio is not in the simplest form. So there is need for us to reduce to the lowest term or simplest form. Therefore, 6 can be divided by 3 and 3 can be divided by 3. So they both have a common factor of 3. So when you divide 6 by 3, you get a 2, alright? Then 2, 1, because 3 divided by 3 is 1. So we can write it in the other 2 form in this manner, 2:1, 2/1, alright? So these are different ways of writing ratio. But when you look at the pairing 2:1, you discover that so it's 2 strawberry to 1 orange. That is 2:1. So this is the pairing. Now we are going to look at another example. Alright, this is the second example. And this time around we have balls, basketballs and football. Alright, now we are trying to look at the basketball compared to the number of football, comparing the number of basketball to the number of football. Alright, when you look at the number, we have 5 basketballs and 8 football, and we write it as 5:8, 5:8 and 5/8. Now this cannot be simplified any further. Now let's look at 2 types of ratios, the part-to-part ratio and part-to-whole ratio. Now let's consider these kids. We have 4 girls and 6 boys. So ratio of girls to boys is 4:6, but that of the boys to girls is 6:4. This is called part-to-part ratio. Now let's look at part-to-whole ratio. So we try to compare the girls to the total number of children, which is 10. So that is 4:10. Then for the boys, there are 6 of them, so it's going to be 6:10. So because there are a total of 10 kids. all together. Now in summary, we can say in part-to-part ratio, we have 4 to 6 for the girls and 6 to 4 for the boys. For part-to-whole ratio, we have 4 to 10 for the girls and 6 to 10 for the boys. Alright, now we are going to look at how to simplify ratio. Making it look simpler is what is meant by simplifying ratio. And let's consider this example, 4 to 6. We first of all make it 4 over 6 and think of a factor or a number that can divide both sides. That number is 2. So when you divide the top and the bottom by 2, we get 2 on top and 3 under. So in the simplest form, the ratio becomes 2 over 3 or 2 to 3. It's as simple as that. Now let's look at sharing using ratios. Alright, now let's look at a common example. Using a foreign currency like pound sterling instead of naira to share 20 pounds between 2 people in a ratio of 3 to 7. So how many parts are we having altogether? 10 parts. So when you divide 20 by 10, you get a 2. So it means every one part has 2 pounds. 2 pounds. Now let's look at a popular example. Koma, Ami and Isaac wants to share 9,100 pounds. Koma will get 2 parts according to the ratio, and Ami will get 4 parts, and Isaac will get 7 parts. Alright, now when we try to find what each part represents, we have to add up to get the total parts. Alright, so we have 2 plus 4 plus 7, that gives us 13 parts altogether. Now we use these 13 parts to divide the total amount to get what each part represents in the currency. Now when you divide this, you get 700 pounds. So one part is 700 pounds. So it means Koma, who has 2 parts, will get 2 times 700, that's 1,400 pounds. For Ami, 2,800 pounds, and for Isaac, 4,900 pounds. When you add up, you get the original. Right, let's look at another example. In a classroom of 30 students, there are 20 males and the rest female. What is the ratio of male to female? Alright, so because we already know what the number of male is, that is 20. Alright, so we write down the 20 males. So male is 20. Then what about female? Well, if you look at the total number is 30. So if male are 20, it means female are what? 30 minus 20. Alright? 30 minus 20. So now let's subtract 20 from 30. 30 minus 20 is 10. So female is 10. So now we try to compare the two values, 20 and 10. Since the ratio is male to female, not female to male, so we'll try to write the male first before the female. Alright? So you write the male before the female. Now, let's do that. So, ratio of male to female is 20 to, that is your column, to 10. So, after the 20 comes the 10. So, we write down 10. So, when you look at this, it is not in the simplest form. Alright? You will agree with me, it's not in the simplest form. In the simplest form, it means simplifying the 20 to 10. Our common factor is 10. So we divide both sides by 10. 10 divided 20 is 2, and 10 divided 10 is 1. So this is our final answer. So we are going to look at one other example. This time around, we are trying to find the number of female in a class when given the ratio. Now, in a class of 36 students, we are told that the ratio of male to female is 4 to 5. 4 to 5. Alright? Male to female, 4 to 5. Now, when you look at the number of parts for the male is 4, and the number of parts for the female is 5. So I recall that we must first of all find the total number of parts. So by adding the number of male parts and female parts, we have 9. That is 4 plus 5 equal to 9. So the total number of parts is 9. So we are going to be making use of this information to find the final answer. Now, first of all, what does one part represent? We need to divide the total number of students by the total number of parts. Alright, so we are going to divide 36 by 9. 36 divided by 9. So when we divide 36 by 9, we are going to get our 4. Okay, but if we are not sure, first of all, let's put 36 in this box and think of the number we will multiply by each of these numbers. Alright, to make this work faster and easier. For example, when we think of a number that will multiply 9 to give us 36, it's a 4. That means 9 divided 36 is 4. So the same way, we are going to use this 4, which is what one part represents, to multiply each of the numbers. Alright, so to now know how many people, or male or female, that are there, we simply multiply by 4. So for the female, we are going to get 4 times 5, that is 20. For male, we are going to get 4 times 4, that's 16. And when you add up 16 and 20, we get 36 the total. So our answer to this question, the number of female in the class is 20. Alright, so there are 20 female in the class. So this is one way of doing or solving this problem. So take note that you must first of all find the one part and multiply it by the ratio part. Now let's take one more example. This time around, we are to share an acre of land between Jack and David. Sharing 28 acres of land between Jack and David. Alright, an acre is a unit for measuring area of land, okay, especially when it is very large. David and Jack are to share this in the ratio of 3 to 4. Alright, and when you look at the total part is 7 parts. And so when we divide 28 by 7, we get 4 acres. So that means one part represents 4 acres. One part in the ratio is 4 acres. So now know what acres belongs to Jack. We simply multiply 3, which is part, by the 4 acres and we get 12 acres. For David, we multiply his own part, which is 4, by the 4 acres, and that gives us 16 acres. Alright, so altogether we can add up and get back 28 acres to be sure our answer is correct. Alright, so this is how we share in a given ratio. So we must not forget to multiply in the given ratio by the value of one part. Alright, so this is all we are going to take on this video. I want to thank you for watching. See you in the next class. Bye.